Now, among the many stories that are making headlines in the country is the story of Boniface Mwangi, one of the greatest activists to have ever been born in the 254. Boniface Mwangi, as of today, spoken in regards to why he went silent and stopped exposing the Ruto regime all over the years, has been trying to prove that President William Ruto is not worthy of the praises that he receives from Kenyans. And Boniface Mwangi has revealed an assassination plot that was planned against him, which was a direct threat to his life. Now allow me to get down to a letter that was today written by Boniface Mwangi through his social media pages, so that you will understand what I'm saying. And we will get to diverge deep into this story, because I shall remind you that the moment Boni disappeared from social media, we as Celeb Corner KE took it upon ourselves to get to know what has really been happening and where did Boniface Mwangi go. Now this is what Boniface Mwangi has to say. He says, I refuse to die in vain. And he starts, on August 3rd, 2024, I found myself in a very dark place and considered taking. A few days earlier, I had signed my will or texted a few people. It was my farewell. I wanted to die. Exactly for good. There was simply too much pain, grief, and trauma in my life that I couldn't bear it any longer. I couldn't continue watching helplessly as our country was sucked into a sickening, deadly vortex of state-sanctioned violence targeting innocent Kenyans and mostly the young people. Boni continues by saying, in this writing now I am aware that it might attract ridicule and trolling from the usual suspects. But I am a firm believer in telling your story. Although I wanted to get myself out of this universe, my family and friends drew a ring of love and empathy around me that made me reconsider. They forced me to seek professional help and to take a healthy break to focus on my mental wellness. That helped me to recenter myself. I have a fresh and new leash of life now, and truly appreciate the overwhelming love and support that was extended to me and my family during that time when the darkness threatened to overcome us. Even though I don't owe anyone an explanation, my supporters deserve at least an update, and perhaps elaboration of the circumstances that continue to assail many of those who put their lives on the line fighting for the betterment of this country. And Boni says, it is common knowledge now that the Ruto regime ruthlessly massacred innocent citizens for nothing other than expressing love for their country by demonstrating to demand better governance and use of our taxes. Dying for loving your country is the ultimate sacrifice anyone can pay, and the most noble act of a true patriot. On the other hand, murdering innocent citizens for speaking their mind is the most ignominious and cowardly act of a despotic government. Ruto called us treasoners. Have you heard that? Remember, Ruto said that the young men that were demonstrating were treasoners. He says he deployed the military to the streets for the first time in 42 years and prioritized his concern about the alleged destruction of property by demonstrators over the lives of the citizens who were murdered. He did not mourn the death of those innocent and peaceful Kenyans at the hands of the police. In fact, he demonized and described them as criminals to try and justify their killing. He ensconced himself in a web of deceit and denial, characterized by his now infamous and Collier's response during a television interview when he said that a 12-year-old boy into whose body the police had pumped 8 bullets was still alive. Now, he has also consistently denied that anyone has been abducted by the police, even when videos of such illegal acts have been shared online by ordinary Kenyans. Some of the brave citizens who played prominent roles in the protest had to move out of their homes and remained underground for fear of being abducted. I narrowly escaped getting abducted myself. Over 60 Kenyans abducted since June 25, 2024. Some are still missing, with the authorities denying responsibility. Do they expect us to believe that all these people disappeared themselves? The government is lying. We all know that it's lying. Yet the silence from those who should be questioning the government is deafening. Still, I am among the lucky ones, even though the constant threat of violence and murder from the government takes a toll on one's mental wellness. Because I refuse to go to State House to cut a deal with Ruto, the money they would have offered as a bribe has been paid to government bloggers to sully to my reputation. Since June 2024, I have been arrested 3 times and been charged and released by the courts twice. This is tantamount to abuse of the court process. My children are traumatized by the possibility of their dad getting abducted or murdered. Not so long ago, I routinely woke up early for a morning run with my children. That is no longer possible. When it gets dark and I'm not home, everyone is worried. My social and business life has been affected, but sometimes I will draw caution to the weed and venture out because the intent of this intimidation is to instill fear in us, and I won't allow them to have that much control over me. After all, I have faced many dangers since I started my career as a press photographer. I covered the crackdown on the Mwangi and their subsequent executions. I was a journalist when police used to execute suspects and display their bodies to the media. I documented more bodies in the aftermath of the 2007 post-election violence when I witnessed the horrors of Kenyans who had been chopped up by their fellow neighbors and houses razed to the ground with the occupants still trapped inside. When Ruto talks about the discovery of bodies in River, where police squads abducted, tortured and dumped bodies in the river, it was myself and other activists who raised the alarm. In my brief life, I have witnessed the worst version of humans towards their fellow humans. But what breaks me is that perpetrators are never accountable. These old traumas were triggered afresh by the police brutality witnessed in the recent youth-led protest. The recent harassment recalled the violent arrest I suffered as an activist. I have been wheeled in for surgeries 4 times to treat injuries inflicted upon me on account of my activism. I still refuse to be cowed. Even though I bear the trauma of the killings and the abductions that happened on June 25, 2024, I was among those in the streets and encouraged others to protest against overtaxation. We went to the streets peacefully, unharmed. We occupied Parliament peacefully, armed only with our national flags, but the state responded with executions, abductions, and forced disappearances. Parliament CCTV footage that shows the senseless killings of courageous and patriotic protesters is yet to be made public. The threat of being abducted, murdered, or disappeared will not stop us from organizing and getting involved in the movement to liberate Kenya from this brutal, murderous, and corrupt regime led by Ruto. Our movement was on the cusp of a win before Raila Odinga betrayed us. Before he walked on the bodies and the blood of the children who sacrificed their lives for a better Kenya, Raila reached out asking what should he do. We told him to demand protection for peaceful protesters. We also told him to stay away from the protests as we had a plan. Raila always saw an opportunity to benefit personally, just like he did after last year's Azimio protest that led to over 70 deaths. Those protesters died in vain. I refuse to die in vain. The betrayal is a good thing. The return of disgraced individuals into government and Raila's co-option into the regime means that when the moment comes, all of them will be swept away. We are happy that Kenya's biggest problem, the corrupt political class, are in the same boat, and we shall sink them all together. Fagia wote. By joining Ruto, Raila transferred his goons to the state. So now we have to deal with both political and state goods. Just like in the days of Moi when we had Jeshi la Mzee, we are facing Jeshi la Raila na Ruto in the streets. The biggest beneficiary of the violence is the Ruto regime. It gives them an excuse to illegally ban, protest, harass and abduct peaceful protesters. The issues raised by the youth of this country have not gone away just because of a political settlement between two politicians. Young people are still hungry, angry, and unemployed. The arrogance of the political elite is back. Even after all the promises Ruto made, he has gone back on his words, as always. He has reappointed almost everyone he fired in some position or other. He lied to the entire nation. Things would change, and then he went back to his old thieving ways. But there is no turning back. We have a Ruto where we wanted him to reveal his true colors. He is a true political son of former dictator Moi, and he wants a state to clap down on free speech, shut down media stations, the internet, and abduct and murder those who protest against his corrupt regime. The PR he was busy doing all over the world has come to an end. The whole world now knows that he is a brutal psychopath. He will not fight corruption or uphold the rule of law, and that's why the clarion call, Ruto must go. We will continue in places of worship, in clubs and the streets until the man is gone. Now the vehicle at our disposal is an organic movement, and it will move again and gain structures as we go. This approach was preferred because it makes it difficult to cut deals with politicians. No single individual who is part of the movement can meet Ruto and claim they are representing us. I declined all of ventures to meet Ruto, but we were not blinded to the fact that it has also left us vulnerable to manipulation and infiltration by state agents. It's very clear who are the state agents inside the movement. They are never arrested or harassed, even when they take part in the protest or hold press conferences, and there are no malicious personalized attacks to their person online. We know them. Their work is to confuse, divide, and report on the movement's plans. We have state agents who masquerade as part of the movement. Some have even staged arrests to look like they are genuine. We know them all. The state knows we know. We made a deliberate choice to ensure that no matter the level of infiltration, blackmail, bribes, and threats to life, no abduction, betrayal, or murder of one of us will stop the movement. We are decentralized and leaderless by choice. For now, Ruto must go. Will remain viable until the man is out of office. What we are pushing for isn't just this removal, but an end to the mindset and attitude that he embodies: corruption, insensitivity, lack of accountability, lack of merit, cronyism, and greed. You could add murder, abductions, subversion of the constitution, and deal making to those vices. The mortgaging of the country's assets, such as the dubious leasing of the airport to a Dan group, leaves no doubt that this past 2 years under Kenya Kwanza have been a dress rehearsal of the ongoing and impending grad larceny. Now, we shall stop their corrupt march because we have unity of purpose. We fundraised 25 million shilling in one day to support injured protesters and families of those who had been killed, an amount that eventually rose to over 31 million from 444 individual contributors. Celebrities and influencers were also part of the movement. That's how we successfully pulled off the Sabasaba Memorial Concert at Uhuru Park in honor of our fallen heroes. All the artists performed for free and people donated money and services to make the concert a reality. When we have our own presidential candidate, we shall crowdsource funds, volunteers, resources and campaign materials and remove the greedy thieving political class in one day. We are people funded movement, and that's why the National Intelligence Service and Directorate of Criminal Investigations are chasing ghosts, looking for where the resources are coming from. NIS, which is ended by Nordin Haji, who served 6 years in the office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution (ODPP) and left the prosecutor's office without securing a single conviction of any big crooks, as a budget of 46.8 billion shillings. In comparison to important institutions with bigger payrolls and more responsibilities, have smaller budget. Prisons with 32.7 billion and the judiciary at 24.7 billion. Why so much money going to one secretive institution? It's Nordin Haji's secret police running the death squads that have been abducting citizens and running secret jails across the country. It is also his budget that is being used to bribe politicians and buy loyalty and pay online bloggers to malign our reputation. Have you heard that? So, continuing on Nordin Haji's story, Boni says, we have a serious mental health crisis in the country. The children who witnessed the killings, the victims' families, and even the police who were ordered to brutalize peaceful protesters are all suffering. Unlike Ruto, who is a psychopath, the rest of us are fighting for our sanity. Activists and citizens are suffering from depression and mental breakdown. Kenyans on social media who have PhDs, pull him or her down, have contributed to the mental health crisis. We need to protect those young kids. Anifa Farfasi, Mercy Taras, Kasmol Makore, Morara Kebaso and others who have emerged from the movement. They are putting their lives at risk, daily exposing corruption and the evilness of this regime. They need our love and support from government, trolls and politicians, apologists. Unfortunately, whistleblowers and activists in Kenya are attacked, shamed and hooded and destroying many lives in the process and leading to unemployment, depression, alcoholism and broken marriages. The whistleblower of the Golden Bag scam in the 1990s, David Munyakei, died young, broken and dejected. Patien, who stole 158.3 billion, is still a free man today, allegedly running similar scams in other countries. We the people must stop hating and fighting those who are working for a better Kenya. While praising and protecting those who are stealing billions, support those who are fighting for change, give them your love and support and defend them online. We must stop persecuting people who genuinely love this country and focus our anger on those whose only interest is self-aggrandizement. The head of Ruto's regime will see many corrupt politicians and entrepreneurs lose their corruption connections and get prosecuted. Some of the criminals who are benefiting from corruption money are the ones funding the smear campaigns. They know that when Ruto goes, jail awaits. Those with resources support those who are fighting for change. To the middle and upper class Kenyans, support civic education in your communities and villages. Let the next 2 years be the ones where Kenyans will become the most politically aware and educated. In honor of our martyrs, the ones who led this fight to make Kenya better, we must remember them forever and ensure that Ruto is a one-term president. We can't afford to have a corrupt, cold-blooded murderer continue leading us. The day of reckoning is coming. The youths who occupied Parliament on June 25, 2024 showed us that courage and patriotism look alike. And for standing up to tyranny, they shook the foundation of this regime that has lost all legitimacy. Ruto now holds on to power by clinging onto the coattails of the master of opportunism, Raila Odinga. But not for long. Kenyans have only one option. Ruto must go. The writer is an award-winning photographer and human rights activist. He is the author of Unbounded, a poignant and riveting memoir that captures his incredible journey. To order a signed copy of his book. Yeah. Now that is the message coming from Boniface Mwangi, which is a clear message to the people of the Republic of Kenya, revealing what Boniface Mwangi he himself went through after the Occupy Parliament maandamano. Because those maandamanos left most of us with scars, not physical scars, but life-threatening scars. I tell you, I was on the front line as a journalist covering that maandamano. And I tell you, what Boni is saying, you know, Boni was among those that organized the first demos for Gen Zs. And the reason why he feels so much entitled and so much threatened by these, and why he suffered so much after what happened, and even going to the point where he just wanted it to be over, alikuwa anataka hata kuondoka kwa hii dunia. It's because, you know what, he blames himself because he was the one that organized these demos, and youths showed up, vijana wali show up, all of them believing that they were serving the cause. They wanted the right things to happen for Kenya. Sure they did, and they all had a reason for it. But this is a Ruto-led regime. A regime that doesn't care about the life of the normal mwananchi. Are you getting the point? So, the regime went ahead to massacre a lot of young youths, capture others, abduct others. And that's why people like Boni, who believed in the cause, and they spearheaded the cause, even began the conversation. Right now, they feel that those lives that were lost, the blood of those young men and women lies in their hands. And that's why Boni is speaking out of anger and out of frustration, because hii kitu ilikuwa imemsukuma kwa kona. These are wounds that cannot easily be healed. They are traumas that have been awoken in people's hearts, including Boni, who has been on the front line for a very long time in the 2007 post-election violence, covering the Mungiki stories and how the Mungiki were being killed back in the days. Now, what are Kenyans saying in regards to this? I'll read just a few. Acted Daniel Kimadi on Twitter says, I believe Kenya is on the right track of eliminating the dark days. The roadmap? 2022 was to remove the dynasties. 2027 will be to remove the main thief from power. 2032 will be to remove the small thieves, lawbreakers, killers, human rights violators, police brutality, etc. It's a revolution process and it will take full effect in 2032. From 2032, we will have a new Kenya where everyone will be proud of. Sancho says, it's not over majama. We should focus on the reconstitution of IEBC ndio vijana wachukue voters card as we prepare our numbers to send this regime home come year 2027. Another one here is Ron GCD says, boss, this is too long, but take it from me that it is only cowards who take their own. Sure. Sancho says, you have to be there when we defeat the looter on the 2027 elections and take our country back from his rogue and corrupt regime. You have to be there when we escort Zakayo the looter to Hague for life imprisonment for the sins and blood he has shed in this country. I also tell you that, Boni, the country needs you. The young generation of the Republic of Kenya needs you. So, hold on. Be strong. You people are the fathers of Gen Z. You are the fathers of revolution. So hold on. Those that we give our life to as the fathers of revolution, people like Raila Amolo Odinga, betrayed the trust of the people of the Republic of Kenya. Now it's about time a new revolution is born. And I know it will be born through our new found fathers. People like Boniface Mwangi, people like Kebaso Morara, who are on the front line to campaign against the fake promises of the government of President William Ruto. We leave it there. But remember, this country needs you more than you need it. Are you getting me? So, it's about time we unite again to rescue our country from looters and thieves. That's it for now. Remember to subscribe. Let's meet in our next video. This is Celeb Corner KE. And this is the topic on the plans and the plans of assassination on Boniface Mwangi. Because that was an assassination plot by President William Ruto. See you in our next video.